begin by reading the first 11 verses of John 2, and the heading is The Wedding at Cana. On the third day, there was a wedding at Cana in Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Jesus also was invited to the wedding with his disciples. When the wine ran out, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." And Jesus said to her, "Woman, what does this have to do with me? My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Now there were 6 stone jars, water jars there, for the Jewish rites of purification, each holding 20 or 30 gallons. Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water." And they filled them up to the brim. And then he said to them, "Now draw some out and take it to the master of the feast." So they took it. When the master of the feast tasted the water, now become wine, and did not know where it came from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew, the master of the feast called the bridegroom and said to him, "Everyone serves the good wine first, and when the people have drunk freely, then the poor wine. But you have kept the good wine until now." This, the first of his signs, Jesus did at Cana in Galilee, and manifested, meaning made known, his glory, and his disciples believed in him. So, that's the passage, and we're going to answer these questions over the passage. Yes, it's at the back of my room. You'll see it, it's on my desk. Okay, here's the first question. What do you think Mary expected to happen when she told Jesus there was no more wine? What was she expecting? Yeah. Yeah, to do something, right? Maybe go buy some wine. Why do you say that, Ella? Do you think she was expecting a miracle? Maybe not, because it says this is the first of his signs. Now, we don't know exactly what that means. Was that truly his first miracle? Like he had never made a miracle before, or was it the first miracle of his his ministry? The first, this is the beginning of his official ministry. So we don't know. We don't know if it's the first miracle ever, or if it's just the first miracle he did while he had his disciples, after he called some of his disciples. So we don't know for sure. That's the short answer. Why would she have any reason to believe he could or would do anything about it? I have a saying that I think is really good advice. Wherever you are, be all there. Because when you're not all there, you're somewhere else and you're missing out on wherever you are, be all there. And right now we're in Bible. So, I'll read that again. Why would she have any reason to believe he could or would do anything about it? Okay, so maybe she's thinking of back to what the angels said, and he is the Son of God, and he can help out in this. That's obviously a possibility, because the angel, came to her and told her about him. It could be that she's just relying on her eldest son. We don't know for sure, but both are possible. I'll give you some time to write that down. Next question. What do you think Jesus meant by his hour? He said, woman, what does this have to do with me? My hour has not yet come. Yes?
Like his time to like tell others about him and like show that he's
Yeah, I think that's a good answer. Yeah, his hour, and we're going to see this saying over and over again in John. My hour has not yet come. And we'll talk about what that means. But it's not time for him yet to reveal who he is. Now, the time for his ministry has come, right? And as he goes about that ministry, he will reveal more and more of who he is in what he says and what he does. But at this point, everybody there just thinks, oh, that's Mary's kid. So, yeah, it's not time for him to, it's a time for him to help and to do a miracle, but not to reveal who he is. Next question. What can we learn from Mary's command to the servants to do whatever Jesus said? She didn't know what he was going to say, right? How can we apply that to our lives?
there's no like our faith, like knowing that God will provide, knowing that he's there for us.
Yeah. As I look back over, I don't remember all 62 years, but I remember a lot of them. The things that I regret are when I didn't do what he said. How much better would life go if we just do what God asks us to do? Just good what God tells us to do. And I think that implies some sort of faith that he could fix it. I don't know that she was asking for a miracle. It's possible, but I don't know that that's what she's asking. But just that idea of do whatever he says. I just think that's beautiful and a lesson for us. Because as Mary believed that he could and would do something, the same is true for us. He can and will help us. The person in charge of the feast said the wine Jesus made was the best of the entire feast. If you were one of the servants, what would you have learned about Jesus by this statement? They know they filled up the jars with water. They know that they took it to the master of the feast. They know, and I would have loved to have seen their faces when he, picked up what was in the jar and it was wine. So they knew it became wine. What they didn't know until the master of the feast said so is this is the best wine ever. So then, what would you be thinking at that? Specifically about Jesus. He's powerful. Who is this guy, right? Who is this guy? We put water in there, and now it's wine. That's a freak out moment, isn't it? And he didn't just make wine. He made the best wine ever. He does all things good. Excuse me. He does all things well. That was. So verse 11 says, this sign manifested Jesus' glory. What do you think his glory is, and how did the miracle show? So let's start with that first question. What is it manifested? It made known. Manifest means to make known. It made known his glory. It showed his glory. So how is that? How do we see that? This miracle? I just figured out your. I was going into. I was at the end of my 10th grade year when I saw the first Star Wars. So how do you so verse 11 says the sign manifested Jesus' glory. What do you think his glory is, and how did he make it known? What do you think the glory of Jesus is? His power. Yep, that's part of it. His power. His deity. Yeah, he's deity. He is God. And so he has all of the glory of God. Everything that God does, he does. Everything that God is, he is. So how does this miracle show his glory, show his deity, show his power?
Power.
There's not anybody else on earth that can do that, right? We can't do that, right? So yeah, his power to take elements and change them. God can do that. And what about his deity? What do we see about his deity? He's doing something only God can do. And we'll talk about this, but I'll give you a little teaser. I didn't give this teaser to the other class. The Old Testament picture of Messiah is a banquet with overflowing food and overflowing wine. A wedding feast is what's pictured. And here Jesus is coming into this wedding feast and giving an abundance of wine. He's not saying, I'm Messiah, but by his works, he's showing that he's Messiah. So it says his disciples believed. What does that mean? Is this the moment of their salvation, or does it show something about the growth of their faith in the heart of a believer? But let's ask the question this way. I think this is an easier one. Do you think when Jesus said, "Follow me," and they followed, do you think they put their faith in Christ then? I think probably yes. I mean, the call to discipleship is a call to follow. And that's exactly what they did. They followed him. They wouldn't have gone with it, literally followed him, right? They wouldn't have gone with him if they didn't believe he was the Messiah. So I think that when he said, follow me, and they signed up, then they were followers of Christ, which is what salvation is, being followers of Christ. But I think that this is like, oh yeah, we found the right guy. We found the Messiah for sure. I think this helped them grow in their understanding of who Jesus was, and that happens as one who's been walking with Christ over 40 years. Your faith grows, your understanding of Jesus grows over that time, and this is one of those opportunities for them to see more of who Jesus is. We'll never understand all of who Jesus is because our minds can't even fathom that. But we can know Jesus better and better as we grow in our faith, and we will if we're walking with Jesus. How would you describe what was going on in their hearts? What do you think they were feeling? Meaning the disciples. Got something to say? What would you be feeling? What would your thoughts be? What? Who is this guy? What else? Yeah, yeah, it would bring hope. I think there'd be a sense of awe. We use that word awesome far too easily. This is awesome. And you probably have been, I would have probably been awestruck. Yes. Exactly. So yeah, I think what was going on in their hearts was this growing understanding of who Jesus is and what he can do. And as they continue to walk with Jesus over about 3 years, that's just going to keep growing. And if you are a follower of Christ, it is just going to keep growing until the day you see him face to face. And our faith only grows over time. Questions on any of this? Okay. So that's it for today.